The Playboy Prince, Secrets of King Carol II of Romania. He was called the Manipulative King, but his true crimes weren't political. They were personal. His stage was a crumbling empire. His weapons were seduction, betrayal, and scandal. Move over, Harry, because this is a story of a prince who broke every royal rule. From abdications to coups to secret marriages, Carol II was the ultimate Playboy prince. Born in 1893, Prince Carol of Romania never had a normal childhood. His father, Crown Prince Ferdinand, stood in the shadow, while a much darker force took control. His grand-uncle, King Carol I, snatched the boy from his mother's arms, took him under his overbearing wing, and groomed him in cold isolation. His mother, Princess Marie, was no typical royal. Although English by birth, she abandoned Victorian decency for affairs, intrigue, and passion. And when the time came, her son followed in her footsteps. Young, rich, and devilishly handsome, Carol was Romania's most dangerous bachelor. He played with hearts the way others played with cards. The young heir to the Romanian throne quickly developed a reputation as a playboy, but pleasures came with a price, and his escapades landed him in royal hot water. By 19, Carol was already making scandalous headlines. He had 2 illegitimate children with his teenage lover, whose surname said it all, Maria Martini. The press drank it up. Carol I did not. Carol I packed off his scandalous heir to the Prussian Guard, hoping war and order would tame the boy. But Carol wasn't built for discipline. He was built for escape. Carol was like a fish out of water in the regimented Prussian Guard. The Playboy Prince didn't take to martial life. So in 1914, at the outbreak of World War I, he did what any royal bad boy would do. As Europe bled, Carol vanished, deserting his posts as the world descended into war, a prince on the run, a soldier without honor. And yet, somehow, Romania still loved him, and Carol went straight back to his old rebellious ways. Unlike other royals, Carol hated the pomp and the political matchmaking with high-born women. He lusted for common women, the ones he met in alleyways and bars. To his family, it was vulgar, an embarrassment. To Carol, it was freedom. Carol's family wanted the prince to settle down, but his choice of partner shocked the royals to the core. When Carol met Zizi Lambrino, sparks flew, and the monarchy caught fire. Carol had become recklessly infatuated with his best friend's sister. She was beautiful, but she was a commoner, an unfit match for a prince. A journalist wrote, Carol fell madly in love and was at no pains to disassemble it. But he was about to disassemble the palace instead. It may have been mad love, but it sparked royal rage. The Romanian government, the church, and the monarchy all tried to stop the romance. They failed. Carol was a royal rebel par excellence, and he wasn't about to let a little official disapproval ruin his fun. In 1918, Carol made his boldest move yet. He smuggled Zizi across the border, past soldiers, evading laws, and shunning family shame. In Odessa, they married in secret. But in royal life, love is never enough. And for Carol, this was just the beginning of the betrayals to come. When the royal court uncovered Carol's forbidden union, it wasn't just a scandal, it was a crime. The king reacted with fury, wielding his authority like a gavel. Carol was sentenced to 75 days of isolation in a monastery. Carol wasn't looking for redemption. He was planning his next rebellion. The whispers spread like fire. The secret union caused ripples beyond the palace walls. The prince had betrayed his family, his faith, his country. Even Romania's prime minister flirted with the unthinkable, accusing the crown prince of treason. But Carol just doubled down. What's a throne compared to true love? Carol didn't just defy tradition, he completely disregarded it. He loved Zizi more than he loved the crown. So when the royal court staged an intervention, Carol stared them down and shouted he would renounce his claim to the Romanian throne. And it terrified the monarchy to its core. The monarchy couldn't convince Carol to end his inappropriate marriage, so they used the law as a weapon. With surgical precision, the Romanian Supreme Court annulled Carol's marriage to Zizi. The reason? They said it was unconstitutional. But if they thought a piece of paper could kill a passion this deep, they hadn't met Carol. And Carol still had one last arrow in his quiver. The Romanian Supreme Court had outmaneuvered Carol by throwing the Constitution at him. Even though his marriage was over, Carol had one move left. The courts couldn't tell him what to do if he wasn't a prince, so he renounced his royal titles. He signed away his right to the throne. To the crown, it was madness. To Carol, it was freedom. Instead of allowing Carol the freedom to renounce his titles, the palace conspired to ruin his marriage. If they couldn't force him away from Zizi, they would seduce him away. Palace agents cunningly threw young and attractive women in his view. And it worked. Carol's marriage, his rebellion, his dream, all of it began to unravel. The affair was over, and so the prince disappeared again. This time, he couldn't get far enough away. Boarding a ship, he headed off to travel the world. He left behind Zizi and their young son. Gone was a passionate husband. In his place, a man on the run from himself. In 1920, Carol returned. He stepped off the boat, right into a trap, a love trap. Waiting for him was the beautiful Helen of Greece and Denmark, and she was a setup. Travel weary, emotionally exhausted, Carol wasn't interested. To Helen, he was cold as ice. Then tragedy struck. A stricken Helen had to return to Switzerland. Carol, shockingly, chose to accompany her. On that train, something changed. Two broken souls shared their secrets, and somehow, Helen didn't run. She saw the man behind the mess, and Carol, Romania's cold-hearted rebel, finally warmed. Carol just couldn't resist a good performance, and as the train rolled toward Switzerland, the Playboy prince did the unthinkable. He turned in his crown of scandal and decided to walk the straight and narrow. He offered Helen a ring. The prince who'd made so many headlines was suddenly ready to settle down. But in this royal fairy tale, the past wouldn't stay buried for long. By the time Carol was ready to play by the rules, he had already broken too many. Even though he was a prince, Helen's family disapproved of the match. They worried about Carol's radioactive reputation. However, love is blind, but soon Helen would realize his true colors. In March 1921, Helen became Carol's wife and Romania's new princess. Together, they escaped to Greece for a 2-month honeymoon. The public cheered, the press paused, and for a moment, it looked like Carol had turned over a new leaf. Carol's respite from the tabloid headlines was short. 8 months into their marriage, the royal couple welcomed their first and only child. Everyone did the math. The press sharpened their pens. Royal officials panicked. Apparently, something else had arrived on that train besides a proposal, a royal conceived out of wedlock. Marriage didn't tame Carol. The monotonous life of a royal husband bored him. And worse, he despised Helen's family. She, in turn, had stopped playing the part of the loving wife, and Carol, deprived of marital duties, looked elsewhere. Carol had a theory. He believed his wife had taken a lover, Prince Amedeo of Savoy. Was it true? No one knows. But to Carol, truth didn't matter, and he started a lurid affair of his own. As it turns out, Carol had been carrying out many affairs throughout his marriage to Helen, but Helen looked the other way until he crossed the line. Although Carol had had countless affairs after Zizi, it seemed like the prince wouldn't ever love again until he did. Zizi Lambrino was a love story, but Magda Lupescu, she was an empire shaker. In 1923, Carol met the woman who would become his obsession. She wasn't noble, she was trouble, and together they would tear Romania apart. In 1925, Carol traveled to England to attend the funeral of Dowager Queen Alexandra. And then Carol dropped the bombshell. After his official duties ended, Carol refused to return to Romania. He wasn't just skipping a flight, he was self-exiling. Just like with Zizi, he would give up everything. He ran from duty, he ran from family, but the scandal always followed. Because Carol wasn't just a runaway prince, he was a storm, and Romania hadn't seen the worst of it yet. Romania was shocked, the palace aghast, politicians outraged. Their Playboy prince had gone too far this time. In December 1925, Carol renounced his titles and walked away from the throne. Carol could renounce a kingdom, but he couldn't face his wife. From a luxury hotel on the other side of Europe, Carol mailed Helen divorce papers. For 3 years, Carol and Magda just floated through Europe on a yacht, but the Romanian government watched. The pair had turned betrayal into a lifestyle, and when they docked in Britain in 1928, their breezy, carefree lifestyle hit a storm. In Britain, they were the toast of the town, tabloid royalty. She dazzled in diamonds, he sulked in silence. Because behind the glamour, Carol was miserable. He wasn't happy being a commoner, so he was plotting. And when the British authorities caught wind, they would turn royal exile into a political nightmare. It turned out the man who fled his crown never stopped wanting it. British authorities discovered Carol's secret stash, propaganda, manifestos, even military outlines. Carol didn't just want to go back, he wanted a totalitarian takeover. In 1928, the once favored guests were shown the door. It was humiliation, exile again. In 1930, Romania blinked, and Carol struck. He returned to Bucharest in the dead of night. There was a coup. Within days, he disposed of his own 5-year-old son. The boy king was out. The Playboy king was in. Carol had never wanted to rule until it became an act of vengeance. There was one condition if he was to ascend the throne: make peace with Helen. Carol resisted, delayed, avoided, but eventually he agreed to a joint coronation with his estranged wife. But this was political theater. Carol wasn't offering reconciliation. He was manipulating everyone to get what he really wanted. At the coronation, Carol pulled one last stunt. He refused to name Helen queen. She was his wife, but only on paper. His new queen, if we can call her that, was already back. Any hope of reconciliation between Carol and Helen was over. He banished her to live out the rest of her life in exile. The rest of the country wouldn't be so lucky. Romania was sliding into something far darker. How do you rebrand a disgraced Playboy prince? Simple. Make him a god. Carol didn't just arrive in Romania. No, he descended from heaven, or so the propaganda said. His handlers pushed one of the most absurd PR campaigns in European history. Step 1, rewrite your exile as a miracle. Step 2, never let the people forget it. Carol wasn't just a monarch, he was a movement. He built a full-blown cult of personality around himself. Poets called him the father of the people. Writers hailed him the king of culture. Historians, they prefer the manipulative king. But Carol, he liked to think of himself as the second coming. What's a cult without a holiday? Each year, Carol forced the entire nation to celebrate Restoration Day, the anniversary of his so-called divine return. 25,000 children marching, spelling his name with their bodies. It wasn't a celebration, it was a worship. Behind the pageantry was the scheming puppeteer. In 1937, Carol appointed a prime minister who had, get this, just 9% of the vote. The people hated him, and that was the point. Because when chaos reigned, Carol could say, the Constitution isn't working. Then, poof, he declared near absolute power. A masterstroke, a trap, and the people fell right into it. Now, in total control, Carol did what tyrants do best. He rewrote the narrative. One powerful political enemy, Cornelio Zelio Codreanu, stood in his way, so Carol had him executed. But not before making sure the official story claimed that he and his conspirators were shot trying to escape. Clean, efficient, lethal. It wasn't justice, it was a slaughter, and the people were suspicious. They called it the Night of Vampires, and the monster at the center was Carol. His political theater had spiraled into a horror show. By 1940, with World War II closing in and his people seething, the cult leader turned coward once again. Carol abdicated. And so Carol ran again, this time for good. He bounced between Mexico, Brazil, and Portugal, never truly welcome, never truly at peace, but exile didn't silence him. He made several unsuccessful attempts to reclaim his crown. He launched a magazine dedicated to himself, because of course he did. Carol the King, Carol the Savior, Carol the Editor-in-Chief. After years of scandal, exile, and political disaster, Carol finally said, I do. In 1947, he married his mistress turned savior, Magda Lupescu, and just like that, the woman who helped burn down a monarchy renamed herself Princess Elena von Hohenzollern. No crown, no palace, just each other, and a trail of ruined kingdoms behind them. Carol died in Portugal in 1953. No nation mourned, no royal trumpet sounded. His son, King Michael, the child Carol once disposed, refused to attend the funeral. Forgiveness never came, not from his son, not from history. For all of his affairs, Carol's most tumultuous relationship was with himself, his own legacy, and in the end, he didn't even get a royal grave. He was buried outside the cathedral walls where Romanian kings and queens rest, fitting, isolated, forgotten. Carol may have tried to rewrite his own legend, but in the end, history closed the book on him and filed it under exiled megalomaniac. And so ended the life of the crownless king. Thanks for watching History Expose. If you love uncovering the best stories in history, hit like and subscribe to keep exploring with us. Don't forget to visit our main page, Factinate, for more incredible facts about everything.